What's up? My name is Danny Suede. I'm gonna show you how I made my single art for my song Sheets. This is one of my favorite arts and one of my favorite photos I've made. And it was a new process for me. So I've done something a little similar in the past for someone else, but this is the first time I've done it this way, and I think it's really cool. And I got a request to show how I did it. So I'm gonna just kind of show you the whole process here. So, okay, so here's the art. The interesting thing is that this actually started with a promo photo for for Spotify for my profile picture. So I made this for my profile picture and I love it. And this is like one of my favorite pictures of me I've ever made. So I was like, okay, this is fire. And so when I was making the art for Sheets, this one that I ended up going with was my third attempt. So I was trying a bunch of different ones. And then I liked that promo picture so much that I was like, I'm just gonna do another one like that for the art. So I'll show you here the first one I got. Here was the first art I tried. It's kind of cool, but at the end of the day, I just didn't feel right? I mean, usually that's what I go off. I'm looking at it and I'm like, this just doesn't feel right. Doesn't feel like the right art. Didn't like it. And then I actually tried another one that was, I actually did this too. I was just trying some weird stuff, did that. And then there was this one too. Just didn't feel right again. Similar style though, but this doesn't have an edit on it. But anyway, so that's where I was at. But we'll go for this one, which is the one I settled on, which I love. And I'm gonna just show you kind of the process. So this is interesting. The first thing I do, we're gonna hop into After Effects. What I started doing is, I'm always by myself and I make all this stuff by myself, and it's so hard to do photo shoots because I got to put a timer, I got to hit it, I got to run, I got to pose, and I go back and I look and I do that a million times, and it's just a pain in the ass, and it doesn't work well. So what I've started doing is I record in 4K ProRes and just do a bunch of poses on the video. And then I put the video in After Effects and I find frames that I like, cut them out and use those for the photos. So you'll see here, I'll switch here. I went out on the deck in the morning when I was in Bali and just literally did a bunch of, I think this is close to one of the original arts. But anyways, I just move around, right? So I just move around and like get a bunch of poses. And then here's the art, I think, right? Maybe it's in a different video. Oh, right there, boom, right? So I take this, so I get this frame. I think, okay, that looks cool. I do the color correction and stuff. So I get this, I put it in high quality like this, full quality. And then I go save frame as whatever. And then, okay, so then I put that on Photoshop and just cut it out, right? Simple enough. But the thing is, when you cut it out, you have to do two things process-wise. So you get the cutout. I don't know where I saved it, but you have to get a pass that's like this too, that's a matte. You get the regular cutout, which would be like this. This is the other picture. But then you also get a just black or white pass. And I'll show you why you need that in a second. So that's the first part of the process. Really easy. I just get my cutout from a video file, which is interesting process-wise. I don't know anyone else who's doing that, but you got to do what you got to do. So now we're going to jump into Keyshot, which is where the majority of the art was made. And then we'll go back into After Effects where I do the final edit. Here we go. Let's hop in here. This is our guy. You'll see, I'll break this down and you'll kind of see what's going on. I'll show you what I do with the clouds and everything. But the first thing we got is this plane, which is me, right? So it's literally just you'll see here if I zoom out, right? It's literally just a flat plane and I project my picture onto it, right? And then what I do is if you go to the material settings here in the material graphs, on the opacity layer right here, this one that's plugged in to the opacity, this is that matte that I was telling you about. So it's like that just white cutout of me. And so it basically tells the computer, like watch, if I don't, here, I'll disconnect this. If I don't have it, I'll say disable. See, now it's not see-through. So it basically tells the computer everything that's in this white area, leave, and then everything else cut out. So if I enable it, you'll see it cuts me out, right? And now it's just like a plane, right, of me, picture of me in the software. So this is my starting point. Then I'll do a background. So this is just literally if I zoom out, it's just a big picture of clouds. It's the same thing I just did with my person. And it's just a big picture of the clouds. And this way the light casts a shadow of me on the background. And this is what I think makes it interesting, because if we go back to the actual art here, you'll see what's cool is the shadows, right? There's a shadow of me on the wall, but it's like, oh, is it a background of clouds? But it's a wall. And then there's like this cloud is casting a shadow on my face. And like, you're getting these interesting shadows on a wall that looks like the sky though. So it's like this weird 2D, 3D thing. And that's kind of what I think is cool about it. So we go back here, and one of the first things I do is I'll show you how I do these clouds. But once I get the clouds in here, you'll see, sorry, it's a really heavy rendering to do these clouds. But I basically take the environment and rotate it until I like the shadows. So you'll see as I rotate the environment, the shadows change, right? Because it's changing where the light is. If you look at this section right here, you'll see this is where the sun is. And then it'll just change where the shadows are, right? So I basically just did it until I'm like, okay, this matches the original lighting of the photo of me and the shadows look cool, kind of a happy median. And end up with this. And then as far as the clouds go, I'll show you how these clouds work. This is so cool because I just learned about these. And they're called, let's see what they're called. It's basically a volume map. So it's called a VBD file. So basically what these are is a box. You'll see if you look on this geometry view right here, this box, right? That is basically where the cloud is in the box, right? So if I turn off this cloud, the box disappears. So you can change the size of the box and also the size of the cloud within the box. And I'll show you what I mean here. So we'll go like this, we'll go back. Okay, so here's our cloud. You'll see if I go here and I adjust where's the size of my guy? I don't even know how to do it. I learn as I go. I'm not an expert. I'm just freestyling it out here. Okay, yeah, so we go to the texture of the cloud, which is this VBD file, which is interesting. It's basically volume of smoke, right? So it's like smoke or some type of volume within the box, and you can just get different shapes. So you could technically get a shape of a animal and it's like a cloud, and you can just change the color of the cloud or the density, right? So you could make it really dense. So right now the density is on 35, but I could potentially do like 150, and then it's going to become really dense cloud, and you can change how the light interacts with it and everything. But you'll see here, if I change the scale of it, it'll start clipping out of the box that it's in, right? So you could see here now, it only can live within the box that it's in. And so, yeah, that looks actually really cool. But I use this cloud for all kinds of stuff. So that's how the clouds work. And then I just make a bunch of those and move them around. And I can run into some problems where they interact with each other, because if the boxes intersect, they start to cut each other off and it starts to get weird. Like you can see how these boxes here, see, these are slightly intersecting. If you look on this geometry view here, I'll change it to shaded. Yeah, so you can see how these intersect right here a little bit. And there's probably some weirdness because of that, but if it looks good to me, I just let it rock. So I just, and you can see, watch here, we'll take this cloud right here and I'll move it, and you'll just see what I'm talking about. So I can just move the cloud around. And then I can see where the shadow is and how far it is from the thing. And I feel like it's 3D if some are in front of me, some are behind me. And I like this one that like casts the shadow on my face here. I think that looks really cool. And it just makes it look 3D. And even though the photo of me is technically a 2D plane, the lighting still affects it in a way that just ties everything together and makes it realistic. Because you'll see if I like change the environment, you get different weird shadows and lighting situations. That actually looks kind of cool. I wonder if I did the brightness, like that looks interesting. That looks cool. But yeah, you can just play around, and then you'll see I could just move the environment. So the shadows will still get cast on me, and not necessarily in a 3D way. Like the shadows won't like contour to the shape of my face necessarily, but I feel like on this one that I already did, and there's the mask on my chin right here, you can't really tell that it's a flat plane, right? It just looks like it's casting a little shadow on my face. That's how I make it. And then I'll go to do the render. I think I did it. Yeah, I did 1,000 samples, and I think it took about a couple hours, 4 hours. And I do an EXR file, which is like a raw file, which just means that it exports it with way more data in the shadows and the highlights, and there's just a lot more detail. So when I go to edit, I have a lot more room. and I did it 3000 by 3000. So it took about 4 hours to render because these VBD files, these clouds, the computer's got to calculate the light bouncing in and diffusing out and shadows, and like, it's just very complicated rendering. So the rendering takes a long time, and I want to do eventually videos with this technique, but I'll have to probably hire a render farm to render it out because I can't do 4 hours a frame, right? That would take like a year to get like 3 minutes of video. So, or like to get a minute of video, it'd probably take a year, so a month or something crazy. So that's basically all it is to my process. I do a little bit of denoise filter to get rid of some noise. But yeah, it's just planes, like literally geometric planes with pictures cast on them, and then these cloud VBD files, and that's how I do it. So now I'm gonna go out of here, and I'm gonna go back into After Effects, and I'll show you how I do the final kind of edit. And then I think we'll be Gucci gang. We're cruising right through. This will be a shorty. Okay, yeah, so here's the edit right here. So let's see what we got going on. Okay, so it looks like I edited on a little on Photoshop as well, just to kind of adjust the colors and stuff and adjust it to be a little brighter, whatever I wanted. I think my skin tone was a little silly, so I changed it. But so this is it by itself out of Photoshop. So yeah, it's a little bit, you know, more contrasty. I fixed the black levels and fixed that kind of stuff. The first effect I do, which I think really actually it's like a big subtle effect, right? So it has a big effect, but it's a radial blur. So if you look around the edges here, you'll see the blur. It's like a radial, so it's like a spiraling blur. So here it's off and now it's on. And it creates like, you can really see it right here where there's this spiral blur effect. And then I just do a mask so it doesn't get my face. But it creates kind of like a focus area, right? It just kind of, I don't know, creates a cool lens effect almost. So that's the first effect I got going on. The second effect I got going on is this same lens effects I use on everything, right? Which is just a little chromatic aberration. So we'll see it by itself here. It just basically warps it a little bit. It adds a little dust and like stuff on the lens. And then it separates the colors out just a teeny bit, like around the fringes and the edges. And it just makes it look a little more like it's from a camera. And when I'm doing render stuff, a lot of these little extra things that make it look like a lens go the final distance because it's obviously fake, right? So it's like getting it to look real and for the light to blend and it to look like it was a photo that was taken. There's just these little subtle effects that I think bring it home. So you got the radial blur, you got the lens effects. The last one I got here is, what is this? I think it's just a little glow. Yeah, just a little bit of glow, right? And you can see it's so subtle, but it just gives it that little sheen of like luster or glow or whatever. So that's my final. And then I just export that out as a PNG and upload that to the art. And that's how I do it. And I like this technique. And I think I'm going to start doing this a lot more. Like I said, I did this one with the, where I'm sitting on the dryer. Yeah, I did this one too. Same kind of thing, but it just didn't feel right. It seems sad. I don't want it to seem sad, but it's a cool technique. So I think I'm going to start doing this for videos and stuff. Let me know if you have any questions. I might do a track breakdown of the song as well, but I'm sure if you're a nerd, maybe you'll have some deeper questions about how I do this stuff. And I never know like how deep to go, if I should go like super nerd deep into the techniques and the tools or just top level. But the VBD files in, I think it's VBD, it might be different letters, but those like volumetric files, they're like, that's a new thing I've been learning and doing that I've never done before. So I think those are really cool. And I'm going to experiment with that more because hypothetically I could make one out of my butterfly logo and then have my butterfly logo like be literally a cloud and like the light would interact with it like a cloud, or it could be text, or it could be anything. So there's a lot of cool options there. But anyways, go check out the song. If you're watching this, the song is out. When I'm filming this, it comes out in a few days, but it's a banger. It's probably one of my best songs I've made. And yeah, it's going to be everywhere. Streaming services, every streaming service. So enjoy. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one. Also, there's a link in the description for my updates. I do weekly updates on Substack. I don't do social media. So if you want to keep up to date with me or reach out or anything like that, it's free. You can sign up. Just follow the link in the description and the song will be there and everything. I think next month I'm going to Jakarta and I'm going to do a music video for this song. So that should be cool. I'm not fully sure on it yet, but I'm figuring out the logistics right now. So we'll see. But anyways, that's it. Peace.